Hello, Sheila, and welcome to today's session, Women in Leadership Virtual Mastermind. This is the 9th virtual mastermind, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are watching and if you have joined us, welcome to this session. It's our 9th, and Happy New Year 2023. We're looking at making this year a year that we have career growth, and I think it's the best thing that can happen to us. 2023, we must move to the next level. If you're watching and you don't know who I am, my name is Winnie, CEO, International Renaissance Center, a leadership coach, a speaker, a coach, and an author. And in 2022 November, I was ranked 9 out of 620 CEO nominees from the world. So I'm celebrating that as well. And I'm so glad you're here because I help middle managers to crack the promotion formula so that they can move to the next level in their life. So if you're looking to grow your career, you are in the right place. And today we are joined by Sheila Wamala from Swaziland. And I'm so grateful that she has set aside time to share our career growth. Believe me, I'm telling you, growing in your career can take time. And sometimes you might be surprised where you start and where you end. But you know what? This is not for me to say. Let's hear what Sheila has to say for us, what she has to share with us. And I'm so happy that from a career journey, we could learn something that can help us to grow our career. And welcome, Sheila. And before she steps on the stage, I want to just give a small intro about Sheila. Sheila Wamala. Okay, Mrs. Sheila Wamala is a Chief Investigations and Litigation Officer, CILO, of Eswatini Competition Commission. Eswatini is Swaziland. Before it used to be referred to as Kingdom of Swaziland. Prior to her appointment as CILO, she worked at the Anti-Corruption Commission as a senior investigator and member of the Anti-Money Laundering Task Force. She is an admitted attorney of High Court of Uganda. She held the position of Crown Counsel and later Senior Crown Counsel in the Director of Public Prosecutions Department of Eswatini. Mrs. Wamala holds an LLB degree from Makerere University, Kampala, that is Uganda, a postgraduate diploma in legal practice from Law Development Center, Kampala, a Bachelor of Business Administration from University of South Africa, and a Master of Philosophy in Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management from the University of Pretoria. She is a born-again Christian. Sheila, this is an interesting brief about yourself, and I'm so glad that you have given us the chance to hear more from you so that we don't imagine, because sometimes people can imagine that you started where you are, but to remove all that, you are here to share with us. Did it start there? How did it start for you, and how did it end up to where you are? First of all, let me ask the first question. I'm reading all this information and I can see the first thing that I noticed from that profile is that you're from Uganda, but now you're in Eswatini. How did this happen? How did you find yourself in Eswatini?
Thank you, Winnie, and thank you for the invitation. Maybe straight to the answer, how did I find myself in Eswatini? I got married and joined my husband in South Africa. So from South Africa, he moved to Eswatini, and that's how I found myself in Eswatini. Actually, when I came to Eswatini, I came to the Department of Public Prosecutions. They had a number of vacancies, and I applied for the job. My husband also came into private practice. He's a dentist. So I started work in the DPP's office. He started his private practice here. In South Africa, he was working as a dentist at a referral hospital in Nongoma. So that's how I came to be in Swaziland, Eswatini.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, I have this knowledge, like doctors, lawyers, when they move from one location to another, they've got some challenges in terms of they can't just go and join and work in those professions in those places. Did you face any of those challenges? You have been trained in Uganda, you have moved to South Africa. Can you practice without maybe sitting an exam or something like that? Then you move to Swaziland. Did you practice again without sitting an exam? Was there a requirement around that?
Thank you, Winnie. In South Africa, I did not practice. I was a housewife for 5 years. I was bringing up my children in South Africa. So I did not work at all. I was just doing a few things, a little bit of selling here and there. And then I moved to Eswatini.
Wow. So it means
Eswatini jobs there.
Yeah. So you are a housewife for 5 years and you're a trained lawyer. Didn't that have weight on you in like asking yourself difficult questions like, why do I have these qualifications and I cannot use them in my life?
Yeah, that's true. I did ask myself those questions, but where we were in Nongoma, it's quite a small town. And my degree from Makerere, I had it evaluated in South Africa, and they said I needed 1 extra year. I needed to do 1 extra year to be able to qualify to work in South Africa. So I either had to do an LLM, a Master of Law, or I opted to do something different because it would mean I go back to law school for another year, and I wasn't looking forward to that.
Wow, that's really a tough call, because now you've got to make a hard decision. Do you go back to school or what do you do? So you opted to do you opted to study something else.
Yes, I opted to study Bachelor of Business Administration. It was it had just been introduced at UNISA. And it was mainly, they were marketing it for those who have a first degree already and just want to add on to the degree that they have. And it sounded quite interesting to me. So I applied for it and I started studying. By the time I applied for it, my firstborn was 8 months.
Wow.
So I started when she was 6 months, yeah. So I started because I wanted to finish it within 3 years since I was at home. I got my second born when I was in my 2nd year, yes. But I tried to do it full time, so it was a very busy time for me. I did it full time and I completed within the 3 years. Then by the time I was graduating, then we were moving to Swaziland, so it was just in time. But since it's distance learning, it was possible to do it, yes. So I could do it in the house. I would go to my husband's office a bit sometimes just for the quiet, then go back and do, and go home. So that helped. So by the time I came to Swaziland, when there was a job offer, then at least I was done.
Wow. You are lucky because it means that now you are raising your children, you are learning, and you are adjusting yourself to the new environment. That must have required a lot of like patience within you, accepting the reality, like it is not what you wanted to do, but you're adjusting and accepting and working with what is available. A lot of people get a challenge when they move places and they don't get opportunities of what they really desire. And they can even go into depression because now they are thinking, all is lost. But here you are, you say it's not lost, and you are in school and you are raising children at the same time, something that a lot of people will say, I can't raise a child and study at the same time. That was a big achievement for you, and a very good strategy in, like, I'll use one stone to hit two birds.
Sure. It was challenging at first, I must admit, because in Uganda, I was working in the DPP's office. It was a busy time. So now I'm home and I'm not working. I tried to look for the job with the support of my husband. He would drive me where I needed. I made applications, but until I realized this is not going anywhere. Let me sit at home and just do what I can do. So the lesson I learned there was, where you are, you adjust to the situation where you are. Forget about, I am a lawyer, I should be working. Otherwise, I could have said, I'll go back home, I'll work and commute, come to Nongoma, but that was not an option for me. So I settled down and I was peaceful about it after that.
Wow. It's called accepting. Yes. You accepted, and then everything started to align and you had peace.
Yes.
And that is why maybe now you are able to raise the children and study and achieve that. And luckily now, after doing all that, you get now a new opportunity to move again. Didn't that bother you in terms of, we have just come from Uganda, South Africa, I'm trying to settle again, we are moving. It didn't bother you?
It was a bit, because of the uncertainty of how far or how long it will be, new country, new everything. There was that bit of uncertainty. However, because I started working straight away, actually we arrived in end of December. I started working in April.
Wow.
That was just about 3 months. And then I was busy. Very busy from that time on. So it was not, I didn't have.
You didn't have that time to start worrying, like, it's
time to be returned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So, I had to adjust quickly to the work, sure.
Yeah. So this one at least worked out for you, and you felt it was the right decision, and that you're in the right place now.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
So I worked there for,
Go on.
For 4 years, actually. Yeah, I just worked there just for 4 years, and then I left and I was back home, because when you're in a foreign country, of course, if they get their own, the citizens apply for the jobs, then of course yours, they do not renew your contract. So my contract was not renewed, and I was back home with the kids. And so I sat at home for a while. I started a small business. I was selling perfumes and other cosmetics. But I felt I needed to do a bit more. So that's why I did my master's in entrepreneurship and small business management with the University of Pretoria.
Okay. So for at least for some strange reason, and in like what would say divine connection, the degree that you had done helped you, and it came in handy, because now you are doing business and you know what to do. Wow, that was a blessing in disguise. So during that time, at least you also decided, let me do more in terms of entrepreneurship, so that you never know where this will come in handy while I'm still at home. So you never left any gap in terms of, if you're at home, you are still doing something. You made use of the time. Every time you are not in employment, you made use of that time.
Sure.
That's something that sometimes people ignore, that when maybe you've lost your job, or maybe when nothing is happening in terms of your career, you just sit there and wait, and you could do a lot of other things that is
that's true
around your life. Because now you see you are getting into a good space now. You have your master's in philosophy and entrepreneurship. You are doing small businesses, and now you're beginning to understand what is happening. So you're adding your qualifications and you are making sure that your knowledge is not going to waste. If it's this knowledge, the legal knowledge, if it's not being used, the entrepreneurship mind is being used, or the knowledge is being used. That's interesting. Did that now give you the opportunity also to be looking, as you are doing your business, you are looking for other opportunities?
Yes, I was applying for jobs. Jobs would be advertised. I would apply, and then okay, I wouldn't get any response. One or two, I keep applying. About the time when I was finalizing my master's, I applied for 2 jobs, one for the Ministry of Justice, one for anti-corruption. And then I started the interview for the Ministry of Justice, and I was kind of assured that I would get the job because I'd worked there before. The one for anti-corruption, it's like they forgot about me.
Oh my
so what happened is that they decided they were not going to recruit anymore for the Ministry of Justice, the public service. So that one was locked. After some time, I think I applied at the beginning of the year, sometime around August, September, I was called for an interview. Actually, they asked me that it seems you may have forgotten that you applied for this job, but can you come for an interview? That was with the Anti-Corruption Commission. Oh my goodness. Out of the blue. So I went and set the interview, and that was it. No response until November. Then November, they tell me, come for your appointment letter. I mean, I had given up on that job as well. And they invited me, they came, I went, got my appointment letter, and that's how I started working there. It was quite interesting because I was first a prosecutor taking matters to court. Now I am in the investigations department. So it was kind of a shift, a change, but it helped me because, of course, in prosecution, you deal with police files. Now you know what is supposed to be in a police file. So it also helped me in the investigations department. So as you said, these divine steps somehow lead to others. Yeah.
Yeah. It does because you're on this side of the, if you call it the bar, and now you have moved to the other side. And you know what, when you're on this side, what is required on the other side. So now you know what to do as you prepare. So now here you're a senior investigator, you're a member of anti-money laundering task force. How did that now work for you, having come from, say, you didn't expect yourself to be there, and here you are, and you have to perform all this?
I think it went well. It was a bit of a challenge because I had to adjust, but otherwise it went well. Working was a bit smooth. I can say, yeah, I mean, the normal challenges that you get at work, but otherwise it was, and I found it very interesting work. It involved some travel for anti-money laundering meetings. So you're able to meet a number of people from different countries. So that made it also quite interesting. And then because you already have people you know in government from the prosecution part, department, now being in the investigations department, you already know quite a number of people like the police and what. So it was easier to ease in.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the skills that you still had from prosecutions, now they still applied here? A new,
yes, they still.
A few ones you are to add in terms of what you are doing now, so that you'd be able, the connections that you had were useful because you're still using them and expanding them, because you have to do the investigation and work with a whole network of other people. So you find that what the people you knew, they're becoming very, very useful now in this specific assignments. Did that now?
And that's very true.
Yeah. Did that help you to understand that in the work environment, relationships are important, and you never know, even if the person doesn't seem they'll be useful to your career, they could turn out to be useful. Like, you need to have those relationships in the work.
That's very true. That is very, very true. You can't take any relationship for granted. Every relationship is very important. I mean, many of these people I met that time, I still work with some of them even today, so many years later. So I meet them in different forums, you meet in workshops, then sometimes you need help, and these are the people you go to because you know they can assist even in your current workplace. So the relationships you make are very, very important. And the way you treat people matters. Because if you respect people, and even if you feel maybe their positions are not as high as yours, if you treat them very well, they respect you, they treat you well, and they are willing to help in future.
So the respect it's two-way. You can't expect, because you're very senior, you just assume that this person is too junior for me, I just mistreat them, or I don't give them the respect they deserve. And then one day you need those people that you say they're very, very junior. So it's important when you are working to realize that every person we meet, it's an important person, and we never know when we might need them, because building relationships for work can really be a big thing for someone who is not used to building relationship. And they say currently, like, relationship is the currency. If you don't have relationship, networks, friends, you might find that your work is complicated and difficult. But when you have these friends and other people that you can count on, it makes your work much, much easier. So it must have really been a big lesson for you.
True. Maybe just an example. When I did the interview for anti-corruption, there were two panelists on that on the panel. Two of them were people I worked with in the DPP's office, and they were my juniors. I was supervising them. But what they did, they decided not to sit in the interview. So at the end of it, I asked them, why didn't you sit in the interview? They said, no, we can't. You are our supervisor. We can't interview you. And I found that very interesting, you know? So the relationships are very important.
And they respected that relationship that you had with them when you were working together, because now they could still feel she has had an impact on our lives. We don't want to be the ones that are making like a fault, or we are not playing a part or influencing the decision. We'd rather be out of it, so that the decision that is made, we are not in that decision. That was so interesting. Yeah, relationships, they're very, very key, and you never know who and when you need the person. So yeah, relationships are very, very important. And now that you're the chief investigations, and I think this is a different commission. Is it a different commission?
Yes.
So did you move from the anti-corruption now to the competition commission? Do they have different assignments, or what happened for you to change those commissions?
What happened is that when I was still at anti-corruption, I got this a recruiting agency called me up and said that there's to send them my CV. And they asked me around towards the end of 2017. And I asked them, where did you get my number? Where did you get my information? They said, no, just send us. So I didn't send it until, they kept calling until February 2018. No, I mean January 2018. So I sent my CV, and in no time I was called for an interview. So I went and sat the interview. I was offered the job, and I took it up.
Wow, that's interesting. I think sometimes when you're doing your work, you never realize the people you are impacting and the people who see what you do. But people, even if they don't talk, they don't tell you, they notice what you do, they are impacted by what you do. So in their own way, they felt that you are the most suitable candidate, but for you, you did not think, and you are not even aware. And maybe that's why you are still resisting and not believing that it could be you that they needed. And I'm sure they are happy that they have you, even though I'm sure the anti-corruption might be feeling like they lost a really important person in their team.
Yeah, I miss the team there as well. I had a good team there. Yeah.
So what are you doing to make sure that now that if you are going to be poached every now and again, what happens to the people that you leave behind? Are you leaving people you have mentored so that they can take some of the responsibilities so that if you're not there, they are there? Because you'll be poached again by the look of things. Who knows? We could find you in the UN office somewhere.
Oh, that would be awesome.
You never know. You never know. You see, with work when you are doing, people will word will go ahead of you. You might not be aware, but people will talk about you. They say this person, this is how they do. We like the way they do. Their impact is great. Can we have this person? So what will go ahead of you, and maybe it's already somewhere sitting, waiting for you. So when we see your name being named somewhere in the UN offices, we should not come as a surprise. We should just say, yeah, we know she is good. She's good.
Yeah. I think you mentioned something about mentoring. It's very important.
Yeah.
When you do work, I found that when you do work, like when you write reports, you have to make sure there's someone else who can do the same work that you do. As they say, you almost make yourself redundant. Make sure you train people on how you do your work such that when you are not there, someone can take over. So I did a lot of that. Sometimes people feel, but do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? They say, yes, you need to do it. You need to learn how to do it. If I'm not there, if I go on leave, the work has to continue. So I found that is very, very helpful.
Very, very helpful. And indeed, it's true. If you're not there, work has to continue, because with life, you can't tell. Anything could happen, and that work must continue. So it's good that you've thought about that and even been mentoring other people so that they can do what you do and they can be able to do, because opportunities come and opportunities don't have a time. They don't say this is the time that we are going to arrive or we are going to be present. So yeah, we prepare for that opportunity. And I think one of the things that we need to learn when we are mentoring others is that as we mentor others to step where we are, it means we are ready to step also to another higher level. So you never know, like I said, who knows? Maybe your name is already in the UN offices waiting for a final signature. And who knows? You could just be invited for that interview and you go and you just get surprised and you say, you know what? I didn't even expect this, but what has gone ahead of you? Your work has spoken what you are doing, and the people can see and they can appreciate, and they know if they need the service that you can deliver, they can approach you. That's a really interesting story from Uganda. You left, you are a housewife, you are here doing business, you are then going into the TPP's office, you are now investigating, you are in the anti-corruption. Who knows what is the next thing? We don't know. Doesn't it feel like it's a whole like jungled thing for you, that you are here, then you move from here, then you go to the other side, and then it's still...
It does feel like there's so much. But when you're in it, you don't realize that. But when you look back, you realize all these experiences were necessary for helping you to be where you are now. And one of the lessons I learned was that appreciate each moment you are in. You may wish for another moment or a higher level. But if you don't appreciate where you are, you won't learn. So that taught me to be patient with where I was, even if I was not happy. Especially when I was at home.
I think that was the most trying one, because from my job to being at home, I don't think it's very easy. 5 years without a job and just being a housewife, that's very humbling. And it makes you think a lot and ask yourself so many questions. But like you say, every moment has got its lessons, and those lessons help you to be where you are right now. There are lessons sometimes you are forced to go through so that it prepares you for the level that you are going. And like you're saying, patience. Maybe you didn't have patience. And I think when we reflect back sometimes at the experiences that we have, we are being taught so many lessons in life. And those lessons, we apply them later, because like God can't just reveal everything that is ahead of you. So it just reveals one step at a time. So sometimes as you're going through the phases, you don't know what lesson you needed from that one phase is what is needed on step 10. But because you have already acquired in step 1, you can now use it conveniently. And when you look back, like you said, when you look back, you realize, oh, I needed to be patient. I didn't have patience before. I needed to slow down, because I think if you came like from Uganda, the office is busy, and now all of a sudden everything is shut down and you're just at home. It means you need to be now like realize there's a time you need to break and just be, and not just worry about the fast moving everything. Relax and just watch, appreciate that moment and say, this is another day. And from just that sitting at home, you are able to accept things that you otherwise maybe would not have accepted or maybe noticed.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, you learn to, when you look back, you learn to realize that sometimes there's peer pressure. They say, Sheila, you've got your LLB. You should at least find a job working somewhere. Okay, I tried. I didn't find the job. So now what am I supposed to do? Because people will keep telling you, but how can you waste your degree like that? It has not come. When I look back, I say it was not wasted. I'm still applying the law that I studied those. Okay, I stayed at home for 5 years. I worked for 4 years. Then I stayed at home again for 6 years. So you see, I've had those two. Then people are like, aren't you concerned about those gaps in your CV? I'm like, there's no gap in my CV, you know. So if you listen to people, you will just not be at peace. So I think we just need to realize we are all walking our own road. You can't walk someone else's road. So it has also helped me for some of the ladies that I've met who come like to Eswatini, where the husband is working and she's at home with the kids and she's looking for work. I tell her, if you don't find the work, stay at home. There's nothing wrong with that. So I share with them my experience and they're like, really? I'm like, yes, now I'm working. So just relax, look after your family. If the job comes, it will come, but don't stress about it. Yeah. Sure.
Great lessons, because we might miss that opportunity of understanding like that time is maybe to stay at home and there's nothing wrong. The time for going to work will come, you'll be ready. You'll have maybe even adjusted, because maybe God wants you to adjust to the new environment, to the new, everything that is surrounding you. So the rush to get into work when you have not even adjusted can really also affect you. And God is just having grace on you so that you can adjust to the new realities. Wow.
That's true.
That is really, really important in our lives, because sometimes we want to be in this fast-moving world where everything is just moving and moving and moving. We forget to pause, be present, and enjoy the moment. So that is also key. What would you maybe tell your younger self now that you've lived through all that?
As I had said, that I'm walking my path. God has put me on my own path. So I need to walk it. I should not look at what has happened to us. If I look at what others have done, I will not be happy, because even by the time I was younger, there were people who were promoted quicker than I was. So sometimes that can also demotivate you. But where I am now, I realize this is where I was supposed to be. So my younger self will be to say, realize you have your own walk, your own destiny, and let God guide you and lead you. If you get to a point where there's something that you can't do, you can't help, you can't change the situation, just be at peace with it. Relax and just continue. Things change eventually. Yeah.
That's so true. Walk your journey. You're not in this journey with anyone. The journey is yours. You have your own unique journey. Walk that journey.
Yeah. And then also help the people along the way. What impact are you having on others, the younger people? Even your colleagues, what impact do you have on them? What relationship are you having with them? Are you treating them well? Do you have good, respect for them? So the younger people, I tell them that do not burn bridges. Do not burn bridges. If a bridge is burnt, it shouldn't be because of you. It should be because of the other person. So yeah, in life, we don't know what will happen in future, but we know that our future is bright. We should always be optimistic and believe that God has a good plan for each one of us. Yeah.
True. God has a better plan for us, even though we might not know. And God will not reveal all the plans he has for ourselves. So we have to believe and remain positive with regard to that. That's nice, nice inspiration to keep us going, so that we know we don't have to worry. We have to keep going, help those people we meet along the way. Everybody is having a different journey, different challenges, different opportunities, but we could come in and help those others. Is there anything else that I've forgotten, maybe, that you think could help somebody who is looking at you and saying, what? She was at home. She stayed at home. And eventually she's working. How could she? She has wasted time. Is there anything else?
Yeah. When you're married and you have children, I realized that they become a priority. I was with my children at the time when they were young, when they really needed me. Take them for swimming lessons, taking them where they needed to go, picking and dropping at school without having to rush back to the office, making sure they have their lunch. And then by the time I started working again, now they were going to high school. So there was a bus to take them to school. So when I look back, I realized, yes, I didn't miss out on anything. My colleagues, many of my colleagues are judges, Supreme Court judges, and people are like, yeah, you could have been a judge if you had stayed in Uganda. And I keep telling them, no, I have never had the desire to become a judge. So it's, it's one of those things where I say, I did not waste any time. Those 5 years and the 6 years, that's 11 years at home.
Yeah.
It's not a short time, but I don't regret it.
It's so interesting that sometimes people think spending time with children is wasted time, but I think children stay with us for the shortest time in our lifetime as parents, and the longest time they'll be away from us. So if we don't even utilize that time, we might end up not even getting to know those children. So it's good to pause that moment, be present, and be with the children, because one time, like you're saying, they'll be picked by the bus. You are nowhere to be seen. You don't have to be with them. They get their own independence. They tell you they don't want to see you, you know. So if we take advantage of the time that they still need you and you are still there for them, then you will live a much more fulfilled life later in life, because you can look back and say, I still had time with my children. I still was present in their lives. Yeah, that one, actually, we should not take it for granted. We should not take it for granted. Anything else, maybe? Forgotten? Or maybe you think that could...
I think that's about